When the Buddha asked, "Who is the one aware of awareness?" there is a question that lies at the outermost edge of human understanding. A question that cannot be answered by philosophy, cannot be found in books, and cannot be solved by reasoning. Yet anyone who has truly turned inward to observe their own mind will, sooner or later, encounter it. And when that question truly appears, something within us stops. It seems simple. When I am aware of a thought or a feeling, who is aware of that awareness? At first, our conditioned psychology automatically replies, "It is me. I am the one who knows. I am the one who thinks. I am the one who feels." That answer feels so familiar that we never question it. But the Buddha did not stop at the comfort of such assumptions. He kept looking deeper, until he saw the root of suffering itself, the most subtle bond of all, so hidden that we don't even realize we are bound. 1. The illusion of the knower, the invisible architecture of suffering. The chains that bind humanity are not made of metal or matter. They are made of a belief that there is always someone standing behind every experience. Amy who observes, who knows, who lives. That assumption permeates every corner of our existence. In every decision, every fear, every desire. We love, hate, hope, and despair around the feeling of a center we call I. This is the invisible architecture of suffering. The Buddha called this deep-rooted feeling asmimana, the conceit of existence. It is not pride, it is the underlying sense of I am. Not I am this or I am that. But simply I exist as the one who knows. Even the Venerable Kamaka, an arahant who had eradicated all lust and hatred, once said, "I do not regard body, feeling, perception, volition, or consciousness as self, yet the feeling I am has not yet vanished." This shows how delicate the illusion of the knower is. It lies at the deepest edge of consciousness, beyond the reach of intellect. 2. When the Buddha looked into the mind, he saw no entity, only process. The Buddha did not solve the question who knows? Through reasoning, but through direct seeing. When he looked into the mind in deep meditation, he saw no self standing behind to control it. He saw only a series of rapid, momentary processes, arising and ceasing like flashes of lightning, creating the illusion of continuity. In the Madhyapindika Sutta, the Buddha described this process clearly. Contact, phassa, when a sense organ, eye, ear, body, meets its object, form, sound, touch, contact arises. There is no I here yet, only conditions meeting. Feeling, vedana, the natural reaction of the body-mind, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Still, no individual has appeared. Perception, sana, the mind names the phenomenon, sound, heat, cold. Recognition begins to form. Thought, vitaka, the mind starts comparing, recalling, this song reminds me of summer. Proliferation, papanka, the mind begins to create stories. I like this song. I have good taste. Here, the I is born. From a simple contact, the mind fabricates a protagonist within its own story, me. But in truth, I is not the starting point of experience, it is the final product of this psychological chain. If I is a product created by conditions, that means it can also not be created. I is not essential, it is optional. 3. Consciousness, not a substance, but a conditional event. The Buddha taught in the Mahatanhe Sankhya Sutta. Consciousness does not arise without conditions. When eye and form meet, eye consciousness arises. When ear and sound meet, ear consciousness arises. Like a flame cannot exist apart from fuel and air. Consciousness cannot exist apart from its conditions. It does not stand alone. It is not lasting. It belongs to no one. If consciousness were self, the Buddha said, you could command it, be thus, not otherwise. But you cannot. Consciousness changes, fades, disappears, beyond our control. It is not self. 4. The middle way, neither is nor is not. When people hear of anatta, not self, they often fall into two extremes. One believes everything truly exists, an immortal soul. The other believes nothing exists, nihilism. But in the Kachanagota Sutta, the Buddha said, avoiding both extremes, the Tathagata teaches by the middle way. The middle way is not compromise, it is transcendence. All phenomena arise when conditions meet, and cease when conditions fade. Nothing is permanent, nothing is annihilated. Applied to awareness, there is knowing occurring. But there is no need for a someone who knows. The miracle is not that there is a knower, but that knowing happens at all. 5. Direct seeing, not intellectual understanding. To understand this intellectually is only the beginning. True liberation comes from seeing it within one's own mind. The Buddha always said, "Iya pasiko, come and see. Not come and believe." In the Satipatthana Sutta, he taught. The monk abides contemplating the body and the body, diligent, mindful, clearly aware. The phrase body and the body, Kaikyan Upasi, is essential. He did not say I contemplate my body, but seeing the body as body, without adding the one who knows. In meditation, at first there is the sense I am observing the breath. But the deeper one looks, the harder it is to find the observer. We search and find only layers of knowing upon knowing. Knowing the breath. Knowing that we know the breath. And knowing that we know that we know. Like standing between two mirrors, reflections multiply endlessly. Until suddenly, a moment of silence, and all reflections dissolve. Only knowing remains, without knower, without known. 6. 4 practical steps to dissolve the knower. To move from intellectual understanding to direct experience. The Buddha offered 4 practical contemplations. Name phenomena without adding I. When thoughts arise, simply note, thinking. Thinking. When emotion arises, sadness. Sadness. Not I am sad. I am thinking. This halts the process before the mind constructs the experiencer. See impermanence in real time. After naming, add, impermanent. Changing. Fading. See how thought appears and disappears, how emotion comes and goes. Seeing this flux severs the chain of proliferation. Apply it even to knowing. Sometimes the mind says, something is aware of all this. In that moment, note, knowing, knowing, arising, ceasing. Even awareness is a phenomenon, arising and passing away. Let go naturally. When the truth of impermanence and not self is seen clearly, even of the knower itself, grasping naturally falls away. Letting go happens by itself. No one lets go, the clinging simply dissolves. 7. From consciousness to wisdom, 2 kinds of knowing. In the Mahavajjala Sutta, Venerable Sariputta distinguished consciousness, vijnana, knowing with subject and object, I see, I hear. Wisdom, bhana, knowing that sees impermanence, suffering, not self, without birthing a knower. When wisdom functions, it does not say, I am in pain. It simply sees, pain is happening. There is no need for I, only seeing. And paradoxically, this wisdom is not cold. When there is no resistance to reality, warmth and compassion naturally arise. Because one no longer fights what is. One no longer tries to make the impermanent permanent. Or to own what can never be possessed. A profound relaxation appears. A silent permission for all things to simply be. 8. The moment the question dissolves. When this is seen moment to moment, the question who is aware of awareness simply dissolves. It is not answered, it vanishes. Like smoke fades when one understands the nature of fire. Like a man once asked, what holds the earth up? When gravity was understood, the question lost meaning. Not because it was answered, but because it was based on a false premise. Likewise, when one sees that awareness is a dependent process, not an entity standing behind it, the question who knows awareness has nowhere left to stand. It stops. And in that stopping, there is freedom. 9. Freedom from the burden of being someone. As long as we believe there is a me at the center that must be protected, we will live in fear, anxiety, and endless striving. Life becomes a project to maintain an identity that cannot truly be found. When we see that the knower is an illusion, only experience remains. No one experiencing it. This is freedom from the exhausting labor of the ego. From the need to be someone. To be better. To defend an image of oneself. When there is no owner of experience, every experience becomes light as a passing cloud. Pain may still arise, but there is no longer one who suffers. And in that very moment, suffering ends. 10. Seeing nirvana, no one born, no one to die. The Buddha called this realization nibbana. The unborn, the undying. Not because there is an immortal soul, but because when there is no one to be born, there is no one to die. What dies is the illusion. What was never born cannot perish. What remains is the pure stillness of presence. Only this moment, this breath, this knowing. Belonging to no one, needing to be nothing. This is ultimate peace. Not because pain disappears, but because there is no one for whom it happens. Now, you may stop reading. Inhale, exhale, and notice that knowing is happening. Then ask yourself, who is aware of this? Can you find them? Can you point to a boundary between the knower and knowing? If you look deeply, you will see there is only knowing. No one who knows. Only process, no subject. And in that instant, even in ordinary life, a spark of freedom may appear. No belief, no ritual. Only a simple turning inward. The question who knows awareness was never meant to be answered, but to dissolve the very structure that creates it. When you see through it, the question disappears, and seeing remains. No seeker, no sought. Only knowing itself. Empty, formless, yet full of life. That is where words end. Where thought falls silent. And you, no longer you. Step into the nameless quiet. The Buddha called the supreme stillness. Come and see. Not to believe, not to think, but to see directly that there is no one behind the movements of mind. Only awareness unfolding. Dependent, impermanent, not self. Yet radiant in its own emptiness. Then the question ends. But seeing does not. And in that ending, all suffering, all seeking, all effort dissolves into space. Only knowing remains. Only life remains. Only the peace of the nameless.
Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to watch more interesting videos.